Girls, what was the most obvious hint you dropped and the guy just didn't get it? My buddy in college was stressing over when to make the move to kiss a girl he liked. While we encouraged him to not wait for the perfect moment and just go for it, he admitted he should have tried to kiss her when they were in the shower. Story 2. I had a similar thing, out camping, and my accommodation was a fair walk away. Girl was like, "It's fine, you can just stay in my tent." Me, "Oh, great. Do you have a spare sleeping bag then?" She'd literally been cuddled up between my legs at the campfire all evening, and I still didn't get it. Story 3. We were discussing costumes, and I sent a picture of me in my bunny suit and said I'd need help out of it. His response was telling me he hoped my roommate was home or that I would be stuck. I had to tell him I was implying I'd like him to take it off me, and it took him a minute to catch up. Edit. For those of you concerned, it was very much a suggestive picture. I'm not sure it could have been perceived as just friendly. And no, you won't be getting proof of said picture. I was very much ready to hit him with the bat of bluntness because we get along great and he seemed flirty with me before. Story 4. Friend was complaining he was hot because of his long sleeve shirt. I said, "Oh, I'm sure you'd be just as hot without the shirt." He was so unaware, but I finally just kissed him. Story 5. I once was modeling clothes I planned to take on a vacation for my boyfriend. After showing off a couple outfits, I told him to close his eyes and changed into lingerie. He opened his eyes and I asked him what he thought. His jaw dropped and he said, "You can't wear that outside." I put my clothes back on. Story 6. My ex did something similar. I bought new lingerie, waited on the bed for him to come home from work. He comes in, looks a little shocked, says, "That's nice," and adjusted the straps. Laid down and started staring at his phone. He said later, after our breakup, that he just didn't know what to do and freaked out inwardly because it was something he'd always wanted. I never wore lingerie for him again after that incident. It killed my confidence. Story 7. I went out of my way to come in early and talk to this guy every day for like a month before someone told him I was into him. I also repeatedly told him that I liked him. He thought I was just being nice. Story 8. I had a girl invite me round her house once just to show me her posters. They were all of Harley-Davidson motorbikes, and she said she's never ridden a Harley before. Awkward silence, and after a few other sort of small talk bits, I decided to be on my way. 2 years later, I'm sitting on the bus and realize what she meant. Harley. Ridden a Harley. Harley is my name. Ugh. Story 9. A guy I'm currently seeing invited me camping earlier this month. We were cuddling and I noted how nice the showers are in the bathroom at the provincial park. I said, "They're really warm and lots of space for 2 people," trying to hint for him to join me for a little sexy time. This man, without missing a beat, actually says, "Actually, you could fit like 10 people in those showers." We laughed about it really hard the next weekend and he said, "I knew what you were getting at, but my brain just wanted to answer it logically." Story 10. Guy here. A girl took my hat off, started running her fingers through my hair, and asked what did I do to get it so smooth. I proceeded to tell her all about the new shampoo I'd switched to a month before until she cut me off. Story 11. When I was like 15, 16, this girl from school I had a huge crush on kept inviting me to her house when she was alone, wearing the smallest tops and asking for back massages. I never got the hint. Years later, when I started going out with my now fiancé, that girl's sister tells my girlfriend, "Hey, my sister had a huge crush on him back in school." I was not a bright teenager. Story 12. A girl came to my house once and spent the night. Around time for bed, she told me that she doesn't sleep with a top on or panties. I told her that's okay, I'll sleep on the couch so she can be comfy. She called me from downstairs later that night and told me she couldn't sleep and she was cold. I figured, well, obviously you're naked, so I gave her another blanket and went back downstairs. Story 13. Not a girl, but I was staying a night at a hotel, and the hotel bar had just closed. I went out front for a smoke and started chatting with 2 women. We shoot for a few minutes, and then all head back into the hotel into the elevator. We get in, they press 15, I press 9, and one of them turns to me and says, "I don't suppose there's a secret bar on the 9th floor we can go to?" My dumbass response, "No, but you can grab a cab and be at a bar in 10 minutes. Then the doors open and I leave. Story 14. Invited him over to watch a movie, eventually laying my legs across his lap and hard flirting, but after 4 movies I had to finally make the move. Edit for clarification. We'd been flirting via text, sexting, exchanging nudes, etc. I had previously told him to his face that I liked him, and I'm giving him the green light to make any move. Still nothing after a month of dating. I seem to always take the lead on things, and I like assertiveness, but I want to give him the opportunity to feel like he could be in control, that it was okay. I was very direct many times. We'd had several conversations about it. Still nothing. Even after I finally made the move, I had to literally say, I want to sleep with you. Story 15. Straight up told him I like him. I think his response was something like, but I'm kinda trash, or something self-deprecating. He's friends with my best friend, and she confirmed that his depression is so bad that it takes a lot before he actually accepts any sort of positive attention. I think to some degree it's mutual. Hard to tell, as I too am oblivious when guys drop hints. Edit. What happened after? We still talk nearly daily. No forward motion on the I like you front, but I'm gonna be there for him whether we're friends or something else. Some solid points out there about the lack of compliments towards men. Everyone needs to be complimented here and there, whether it's about looks or talent or even just a nice shirt. Accepting them is hard as hell though. Story 16. I used to be oblivious. Probably still am. There was a girl at a local grocery store who was flirting with me, but of course I didn't get it. After quite a bit of this, I leave town for a few months and we're corresponding via email. I can't remember why, but I was asking her a string of questions like, why is the sky blue? Chicken or the egg first? Where do babies come from? Etc. She answered them all, saving where do babies come from for last, and answered with, when you get back, I'm gonna show you. I got that one. Story 17. My fiancé thinks leaving my bedroom door open when she spent the night when we were just friends and she lived out of town and there was absolutely no reason for me to think anything romantic was going on was obvious. I got up and closed the door because the AC was on and was low-key miffed. Edit. We were friends for a long time before we got together and she had a meeting early in the morning, so I gave her my bed and slept on the couch. She left the door open thinking I would take the hint. Story 18. I'm a guy, but I can share my density as the guy that missed the hints. I went to a store where there was a girl I liked in college. We used to small talk while I browsed and never bought anything, being a poor college student. This time I came in the store and she and I chatted for a bit while I shopped. She complained, I'm gonna be home alone tonight, my family's out of town. I replied, oh, that's too bad. She says, I'm off at 5 today. It was 4 at the time. What are you up to tonight? I'm up for anything. Oh, nothing, just sitting at home and watching a movie. My brain must have completely self-destructed because the conversation ended there. I never saw her again after that. She either quit or was avoiding me. I must have been in a daze from school to miss that cue. Story 19. This was some years ago. I was 22, had been talking to this guy for a while, and was ready to lose my virginity. I was a college student living at home, but my mom and stepdad were on vacation celebrating their anniversary, and I figured this would be the perfect time to make my move. He and I already had a date scheduled, so before we went, I cleaned my room and the entire house from top to bottom, created a chill playlist on my computer to listen to, shaved/waxed every necessary inch of my body from the forehead down, put on sexy underwear, and waited for him to pick me up. We went out to the movies, and when he dropped me off at home, I invited him in with the added context and in a leading, flirty tone of voice that we would be all alone and had all the time in the world to do whatever he wanted. He said, that's all right. I'm sure you want to enjoy this time you get without your parents to be alone. He was sure, and he was wrong. I just stared at him for like 10 solid seconds in silence before I nodded and said, yeah, that's true, and got out of the car. The walk from my driveway to the front door was the real walk of shame, and I hadn't even gotten any good sex out of it. After that, I sat in my very clean house in my sexy underwear eating pizza and wondering how that could have gone differently. It was my first time trying to seduce a guy, and it failed miserably. I laughed about it though, and I can still laugh about it now. I just figured it wasn't in the cards for me yet. Ended up having my first time a few more years later to the guy I'm currently engaged to, so it all worked out pretty wonderfully. He's pretty good at picking up what I'm throwing down. Story 20. On our first date, my current boyfriend and I went out to dinner, to a bar, and eventually back to his house to watch scary movies. After hanging out for almost 8 hours at that point, practically cuddling into him the entire time we were watching movies, dropping as many hints as I could, around 8 a.m. when we were both fighting to stay awake, I finally had to look at his dumb ass in the eye and say, are you gonna kiss me or not? Though he was totally oblivious, it did show his good heart. He was about to let me fall asleep on his couch and spend the night without even trying to kiss me. I knew he was a keeper after that. Story 21. I'm a guy, but one time I was hanging with a longtime friend of mine who I used to have a crush on and who knew that I had a crush on her and had rejected me numerous times over 7 to 8 years in her dorm. We decided that we were both tired, but her other bed was occupied by our friend, so I was going to lay down on the floor. She was like, there's a room in my bed for you anytime. So I hop in bed with her thinking nothing of it. The next few minutes minutes were kind of a blur, but eventually we were literally hugging with her leg wrapped around me, and she looked me in the eyes, bit her lip, and said that she was horny. I never made a move beyond that, since she had spent the past almost decade of my life rejecting my advances. Story 22. Guy here, and have been told this by colleagues. Had a date with a girl I kissed at a festival. I got her number after that first kiss and asked if she'd be down to meet in less drunk circumstances. She was. We met, we talked, and I walked her home. She asked me if she could hug me and if I wanted to sleep over. I told her I had a 40-minute drive back home. Now, I saw this as an act of politeness. My female coworkers claimed it was definitely more. I still don't know though. Story 23. I'm a guy, but I once had an experience where I took the hint but still got rejected. A girl had asked me if I lost my virginity yet. We were still in high school. When I said I hadn't, she said that I could practice on her whenever I want. Mind you, we were walking home after school because we lived pretty close. I try to act on this hint when we get to her house, and she said she was only joking and doesn't want it to be weird with us as friends. What? Story 24. I'm a guy, but I have a story. A couple of years ago, a cute girl at a cash register at a local supermarket where I was a regular customer at every night said to me in a clearly flirty way with a big smile, "Oh, I thought you're not coming in today. I'm so happy to see you." Her face was shining when she said this, but the dumbass I was didn't realize this, and my response was, "But why?" As I said this, her face went red and I could hear the glass shatter sound echoing in her. I have other stories too, because usually I get the hints 5 years after they happened. Story 25. When my boyfriend and I had just started dating, we were laying down watching a movie, but this was a small bed and he was being respectful and giving me space. I kept wiggling backwards so I could get closer to him, and he kept inching backwards too, since he thought I was just trying to get comfortable and he was in the way. He ended up sitting in a chair next to the bed. 3 years later, we are still together, and I still think it's pretty funny. He told me that when he was in the chair, he purposefully left his hand next to me in case I wanted to hold it, but I guess I missed that sign too. He didn't get out of the bed because he was uncomfortable. He truly thought he was taking up too much space and didn't realize I was trying to cuddle. Story 26. So, answering in lieu of my late wife here, I, husband, am dumb. Like, really dumb. She and I met and became friends very quickly, but I didn't know she apparently had a huge crush on me. I thought she was out of my league, and apparently she thought I was out of her league too, but she couldn't stop the feels. She rubbed her feet on me while we were talking, asked me in detail about my package, gave me her phone number with the line, "Hit me up if you want pizza and sex." We went out for lunch. She offered to fillet me for a Dr. Pepper, and she was very insistent that we got the meat lovers pizza when I asked her what she wanted for watching a movie later. After we watched the movie, she was in my bed. I figured she was just wanting to keep warm and cuddle, but she strutted into my bathroom stark naked, and I had some double D's staring at me. She kissed me and told me, "I want you to bang me, you idiot." A regular romance story there. In my defense, she had a really warped sense of humor, and I thought she was just kidding with all that stuff. It felt so natural with us being friends that the thought didn't even cross my mind until she propositioned me that there was potential for more. I had had some really messed up exes, and I thought romance was something where I had to jump through hoops for the other person and wait on them hand and foot. But she was different. That's why she was the one who I got on one knee for. Advice to all the ladies out there, if my wife telling me, "I want you to bang me," got through my legendarily thick skull, I think as a last resort, that'll get through to anybody. Story 27. We were playing life and he was the police officer. The rule is if you spin a 10, he gets your speeding fines. I literally pulled open my button down and exposed my breasts and said, "What can I do to get out of paying this?" He said, "Ma'am, I'm an officer of the law. Are you trying to prostitute yourself to me?" A couple days of flirting and sexual innuendo later, I literally had to spell out that I was trying to bang him. We've been together 6 years now. Story 28. When I was about 35, I lived in a beach town near a university. My neighbors were all college kids. Next door were 2 college girls. One was always flirting with me. One hot summer day, she turned up at my door in nothing but a long t-shirt. She asked if she could hang out in the AC. I said sure, and she came over to the sofa I was sitting long ways on and laid with her back to my chest and asked if we could snuggle. I was okay with that. She then asked me to rub her belly, which I did. As you can imagine, after about an hour, I was getting a little worked up and touched her breast. While rubbing her belly, she jumped up and stormed out. I was like, WTF? She later said she didn't see me like that. I asked her why she showed up almost naked, lay between my legs like couples do, and asked me to rub her belly, and then get upset when I try to progress things. She said she looks at me like a big brother. I was like, what is your family like? Story 29. I'm the guy in this situation, but I couldn't help not sharing this story. In college, this girl I was really into asked if I wanted to hang out at my dorm and drink and watch Netflix. She came over and we were watching and drinking on the couch in the living room per my suggestion. Things are going good, and about an hour into it she says, "Ooh, let me see your room." So we go to my room. She takes off her shoes and socks and immediately sprawls herself out on my bed and says, "Oh my god, your bed is so comfortable." I responded with, "We live in the same building. It's the same bed as yours." She left about 10 minutes later. Story 30. Even though I'm a guy, I have a good story about it. When I was younger, there was a girl and we were super close, best friend for ages at this point. One day, she was a little off, so I asked her what was going on. Her response was something like, "I have something that I need to tell you, but I'm afraid what you will think about me after telling you this, and I love our friendship so much that I can't see a future without you. I really, really love you and don't want to ever lose you." I just translated the most important parts of the text. I still have that screenshot. My response was, "Oh, I really love you too. Can't see my future without you, and we are going to be best friends forever." At that time, I really wanted to date her, but I still didn't get what she meant. It took me 2 days to start understanding what was happening, and 3 of her friends screaming at me that she wanted to date me. Story 31. Guy here. Was invited back to study by one of the girls in my class at her apartment. We're about half an hour in and she says she might take a shower. I'm like, okay, kinda random, but sure. Anyway, she starts telling me the door to the shower is broken, so don't come in. Says it 3 or 4 more times. Again, I'm like, okay, weird that she said it multiple times, but sure. Hour later, the shower is still running. I can hear her singing and humming away, so I know she's okay and hasn't drowned. Thinking, gee, that's a long shower though. Water goes off and she comes out dressed and says, "You didn't come in?" I'm confused as I'm like, "What? You told me not to." She sits back down, clearly distracted and not wanting to study. We wrap up after 5 minutes. Drive home. Mate asks me how study was about a week later, and the situation, which I hadn't given a single brain cell of thought to since, I explained to him. As I'm saying it out loud, the penny drops as to what a big moron I am. Story 32. This guy I was dating decided to read me a letter his father wrote to him that had advice on dating. My date was an excellent gentleman with a whole lot of things going for him. Unfortunately, hygiene wasn't one of them. Anyway, he came to a part of the letter where his father had listed different reasons why it's so important to have good hygiene. I piped up with a, "Oh yes, I love that piece of advice. Your dad is really smart." He never took the hint. When I later broke up with him, I never told him, but hygiene was one of the reasons. I really hope he's doing okay out there and either figured it out or found someone with a stronger stomach. Edit, yes, I should have told him directly. I was younger and dumber then and didn't want to hurt his feelings. I know better now. Thanks for all the advice.